Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:41 PM. This is the Instruction Student Support Services Meeting, ISS. My name is Rob Traber. I'm the chair of the committee. With me is Albert Pennehanger-Hallis. William Bean, the other member of the committee, is not present. And we also have Marissa Estamara Jimenez joining us online. We have an agenda tonight. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes dated March 25th, 2026, the last meeting we had. I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the parent involvement allocation 2025-26 report dated May 12th, 2026. Ms. Carly Rocha Reyes is here to give us the presentation on that.
Absolutely. And so I believe initially we had submitted a report that was dated May 12th. There's an updated one dated May 21st.
Yep.
And so we'll take a look at that one. In my many years of doing this, I think that we ended in a good place with our numbers. The majority of the schools spent close to, if not 100%. Of course, we strive for perfection, right? We strive for all of our schools to get to 100%. But I think our overall percentage of used funds, we ended in a pretty good place comparing other previous years when we've worked on this initiative. But we are in the business of continuous improvement. So we looked at the schools that struggled to spend, under 75% or lower, and to learn how we can support them moving forward and what barriers and challenges they faced so that we can continue to improve our efforts to support. I did speak with the principal of Dunbar, Dr. Henry, and she did give me, the information and to share with all of you. Unfortunately, Dr. Henry did spend some time out of the building this school year. And after that, her assistant principal has also spent some time out of the building as well. And so that really played a huge part in their ability to, make sure that the PAC funds were being spent. And I think that, this is an exception to what our expectation is. And so we've already talked about the plans for next school year. She has great ideas for family involvement activities, and I'm sure that won't be something that will be replicated. I also have reached out to the other two administrators and will speak to them directly. I spoke to Ms. McPherson quickly on the way here, and she said she did have some challenges, and I was literally pulling up here. So I said, I'll, reach back out to her tomorrow. We'll see how we can better support her and make sure that those funds get a higher percentage next year. And I'll do the same for CROSS, which I think is, yes.
Ron Jones is the interim principal at CROSS. He came in about 6 weeks ago. So he was new to the role, and it was school FMLA and workers' comp for most of the year. So there was a lack of coordination for the PTO. But I have full confidence in the leader going forward, being on board in August so that we can hit the ground running.
Correction, that means he was back.
Sorry. Old habits die hard.
McPherson. Been there forever.
Yes.
That one surprises me.
Yeah, I did say, I told her to reach back out tomorrow again, to have a deeper conversation. She said I still have some more activities planned for the rest of the school year. But, unfortunately, the deadline has passed to use more of the funds. So although she's continuing her parent engagement efforts and she has 2 more parent engagement activities, the funds were not spent in order to complement those activities that she has planned. So I'll learn more when I speak to her tomorrow and see where we can make some.
She's retiring.
Permanent?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, actually. Yeah. No, I know, I worked with permanent at Blackham, she was teaching, and I know that she's been there a while, and I know they have strong teacher leadership. And I actually know the type president, through the, she mentioned some, so They just, they've had that ability, so I'm sort of surprised that it's so.
That was one, yeah, that one's one that caught us a little bit off guard, but I don't think it was for lack of parent engagement activities, but just somehow something got missed with spending more funds.
Well, it is, it is overall very high. Bannon?
Yes, thank you, Chair. What was the last day of summit,
April 16th and 12th, I can't remember.
Internally, it was sorted out, it was the night, and we asked for an extension for a week to April 16th for spending the funds. And then, so for instance, when we looked at aerospace's numbers, they were at 58% of the, so they were how do you say, we had a journal entry money that went to the wrong account. I needed to go back, so because he had said, listen, I spent all that, so we went back in and fixed it.
Because I know each school, for me, on the pack and BTS are president, they have an action plan.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing you do when you receive money, what you're gonna do in 10 months, and you have to spend money. That's the way you start sending, so you don't have that issue that minute. So you will up into great. Cross, right?
Cross, yes, that's wrong.
And do you know exactly the elections school they may inform you, when there will be elections, back in the day. So starting now, when we come back. Education,
Absolutely.
They
Yeah,
have to have a plan to be ready. Exactly.
we'll start right at the beginning of the school year, identifying which ones are already established and which ones need to hold an election. As we did this year, we put together, election pamphlets pre-made for them, so they just had to fill in the information to make it specific to their schools. And we'll make sure that we continue to update those lists and make sure members are current and that elections are happening.
And most important, they have a correct address, phone number or email, I always tell parents, I don't want to use my personal email, so you can create one. They can have the name of the school or something different that you can receive, I know something that happened to me the first time. I had my personal email. I had to create one to make sure, basic information. Like I told the last time, when we did that, Trevor, we tried to figure out how we can do it first back.
I'm saying what
The district back. District back,
district?
district back, we have a few years back, and years back, for education. So when you have a district packet, it's much better because you don't have too much job for you, because anything happen with the school packet be there, so they go straight to the leader. It's the same thing, president, vice president, all these people. But as I say, when you sign for a position like that, then I know you don't get paid for that, to be sure you have the time, responsibilities, and how you're gonna deal with the parents. People sometimes they like to have a title or be part, and they don't have the time. I know family is always first in the job too. And they have to understand where everyone in the say run as a district back president. You need to deal with all the president for each school. All the things you have to report one time in a month. The board education, what's going on, what's happening. That person in charge. It's a team. I tell you because I was the vice district, I was the secretary, I was a recorder in the bilingual. So I know. So it's something I have to take the job as a president because something happened. So I know exactly how to run district bank. It was good to have it because you're being part of that district bank can inform you. This is carry reach out to do this and stuff like that. And you don't have too much for you because you have to have somebody, that person be visiting the school and so okay. And they have to have 2 meetings in a month with all the leaders, to listen what's going on in each school. It's very important. We can try to see, who would like to be responsible because it's very important. Don't say I am gonna do it and then you don't have the time. So people like to say yes, and it's of course, like I said, they don't get paid, but you have to understand you need to get the time for its leaders. Parents that will come to you, talk to you. It's a big job, And it's good to know if I figured out too that you said this is when they're gonna be the elections.
Right.
That update list is very important, numbers, email, stuff like that. And one of the best important thing, like I said, the money is for the parents. If to spend it or educate the parent and do something with the parents. I see some school, they have leaders that told me, Mr. Bellingham, do you think it's good, this and this? I said, no, the school, they don't have to even touch the money. You know, it's my passion doing this for over 15 years. I love packaging. So that's why I call you, let you know what's going on, because when I see that, make me sad and angry. I said, no, the money's for the parents. We have to use it. And I told the parent, the first thing you have to do is the action plan. Another thing, when you have the action plan, I see so many action plans. You have 5 teachers you can take from the school that can do workshop for the parents. And the name of the teachers is there, but they don't do the workshop for the parents. And I'm like, okay, you put the money there, not sorry, your name there, fill out the form. Don't do that to fill out the form and you're not doing the workshop for the parents. It's very important. I see that so many things. The other thing I'm just rushing, and I know we talk about this, is the vendors. I don't know why the city, I believe so, yeah, takes so long to pay for the vendor. When the money from the packet BTSO is already there. I know if it's something different, let's say we ask the money for the city or BOA, okay, I understand, but it will take time. But when the money is there, I don't know why it takes so long. That's why sometimes we got vendors, they leave. So Mr. Bennett, it's not you, it's not the parent, it's not just what it takes to know. And I agree with that. I know we have a list of almost 70 or 80,000 vendors. But the ones sometimes the school has, they work with them for so many years. You know, it's sad that we lose that. I know some of them, they understand and say, okay, don't worry, don't wait. But I have one vendors, they're still waiting to get paid from last year. You know, and I'm really sending information, you know, to the secretary, what's going on, why the vendor's not getting paid. They got his, you know, he'll understand, but I say, wow, last year and you're still waiting for that. So I emailed the principal to see, you know, what's going on because, you know, he have to get paid, he didn't do his job. So I don't know why, that thing sometimes.
Going to include June 2nd, which is next week, we do an admin council, which is our final meeting with all the administrators in the district. And last year we started doing like a back to school checklist. What are the non-negotiable expectations that we want to see at the schools, like things like instructional minutes, and we're going to add a pack so they can start thinking about it now and planning for it as part of their back to school planning.
The thing I told the leaders, be sure you talk about the principal. Remember, the principal isn't the one in charge of school, he's the supervisor of school. You gotta let them know, you know, that they, you know, bring to conflict, you know, maybe the principal has something, but you gotta let them know in advance. Don't tell the principal, I'm having this tomorrow, when the principal has something like that. Yes, the principal, they can tell you deny it because you come at the last minute.
Right.
You gotta let them know in advance, you know, so the principal, they can have everything prepared because you have to do the AR 100, the AR 200, you know, the security, the custodian, you know, stuff like that. It's saying, you know, take time, you know, so, and so I always tell them that. The other thing that I'm very upset is the parent convention. I'm still not believing, and I know I'm really talking with that theory about that, that, I'm waiting for the report that the money disappeared. That I know exactly that I went to the former, teacher superintendent, and we went to the place to do a parent convention, and that money was there. Because we were talking about do that parent convention in Marriott from Hotel. I went with the intern superintendent and put another parent too, and for now, I'm not magic disappeared. And I still have an email with the other intern superintendent, former. The money was there, but it's gonna roll over. It's not gonna be, we're not gonna lose it, we're not gonna lose it. So we, all this time, we were thinking the money was really there. Until you inform me, you know, you know, what's going on, you explain me the situation, you know, speak with Dr. everyone day and have a meeting one-to-one. And that's how I want to report where that money go, who use it, how they disappeared, when I have proof. The money is supposed to be there for using, and we're not gonna lose it. Yeah, this one, the fact BTA, so you don't use it, of course, you're gonna lose it. And I know that for so many years. But during convention, I cannot really, like, right, this year, we lose it again. You know, I still remember when we started with $31,000. Now with $9,000. So every year, you know, 30 years back, because that was the last one, like I said, 2018 was 2018 was the last one. That was the last one. So we will think all the time of this $9,000 going to be there in magic. And I'm still waiting for that day we give me the report. Where did that money go? Who use it? Where to spend it? Because it's not fair. I totally, I'm not set to that until I have information and why they touch on money, what that money is supposed to be with parents. Depending you, I know I'm trying to be patient, to see the information, but I really don't want to go to call the brand office or the state, let them know why they use this money when they're not supposed to. I'm very surprised. I'm very still in shock. Tell you. I'm trying to keep my patient, like into Trevor said, I mean, relax, we're gonna get information, we're gonna get it, but I'm still that rock in my shoes, why and how and who, when.
We can also talk to Nestor and see if he can.
Yeah.
Look to see. At the time, Maureen was CFO at the time. Marlene, sorry.
Yeah, she was. She was. From her, they say, no, the money's gonna be there or whatever, you're not gonna spend it because that's coming from the state. You're not gonna spend a lot. That's what I have for them. I do my research, but
Ms. Esther Mara Hernandez?
Yeah, my question was Albert actually responded or addressed my question. My question was around if PAC and PTS money that's unused, can it roll over? And it sounded like that's not the case. Is that correct?
Correct. And not roll over.
No, if they
Understood.
don't use it, they lose it.
Is there a correlation with, it sounded like Mr. Benahan said that, we used to get more money, now we're not getting enough as much as we used to. Is there a correlation between that and maybe the fact that some of our schools don't use all their money?
No, it depends on what the Title I allocation is to the district. And we know that our alliance had been cut back a little bit this year. And so that comes out, the PAC money comes out of the alliance grant.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
just don't we get less?
No, that's an internal accounting.
Okay.
So they'll allocate, as part of the alliance pool, they'll allocate other expenses, is my understanding. But we have to spend everything by June 30th, or we have to send it back. Shouldn't send it back.
Now, let's go for just a minute. Why don't we do a district bank?
The last I remember was when we started one up. I think it's honestly just because of, this just been change of leadership, and the last time it was maybe 3 years ago that it was brought up. And we held a meeting and did some elections, and we have the bylaws in draft form. And I think that it just didn't carry over year to year.
3 years,
We researched that.
3 years ago being,
It's about, it had to be about 3 or 4.
Yes, Don.
I think, yes,
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 Connie,
yes.
remember there was a whole conflict there was issues at the district PAC level. I know that because, and also, they were supposed to have 2 meetings a month. And it was sometimes very difficult to recruit even volunteers to attend those meetings. It was the same schools that were represented, but it wasn't all schools that were represented. So there was a lot of things we might have to research a little more and see what actually happened.
well, listen, I've lived through our personally gave you some idea of his experience. Mine was more indirect. I was an observer as a union participant, observing, and saw some very entertaining meetings at the central cafeteria where the charter school people fought with the school district people. And Mayor Finch was there trying to help take over the district bank. So I can see the possible problems and difficulties, but I also can see the advantages of having a district PAC with regard to what we anticipate being our campaign next year for funds at the state level. And having a strong district PAC. So it's sort of, that's the reason I'm asking has to do with having a strong citywide parent organization would strengthen our ability to get more parents involved in the struggle for funding justice, equitable funding. So that's the only, I'm only asking from that point of view. I do understand the increased difficulties of that you're raising. But I also know the increased difficulties that we had this spring getting PACs. We had virtually no involvement of the PACs and parents in what we did this spring. And we're gonna need to up that game one way or the other. And the question then becomes, is that a possible way of upping our game? Or not? Is it better to approach it some other way? So that's a question that I'll leave hanging tonight, but we should all think about that as to whether or not, that's an appropriate way to do that. And viable would be the second.
I know when we tried to bring the district back, I used to as Bella, yeah, it was a little confused because some parents were very upset. It was not the same when I was there, more passion was more welcome. And it was almost time for the little coffee, COVID-19, people don't want to come, people don't want to be closed, because it was a lot. I understand it was a lot. But I remember when the former board members and the former the friends, they're the one decided to remove the jersey bag because then, like I said, charter school trying to get it, and it was very bad. But I'm trying to let's see if on the day one trying to have the jersey bag, and that will help a lot. And it's gonna be less job, you guys, because you have somebody being charged. Whatever happened, a comment or question, the leaders have to call the jersey bag. I don't remember also when Dr. Saki was here and Dr. Farga, we were talking, having a meeting about the convention money. And we were talking, and I bring you the book, I bring you everything, Never talk, the money was not disappeared. Never disappeared. And that's what I'm trying to figure out where exactly that money go. It's very, for me, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. But I know we have the retreatment one day in the UB. And we talk about the Thursday night. We talk about the parent convention. Somebody mentioning about the money with the spirit. So this is not trying to put everything in a puzzle, trying to put everything together. Everything was there, everything was nice. We were trying to work it very nice, and then come. And I need to figure out how ultimately went there. Because I know former superintendent, maybe I feel like I did something else. Because she was against, she really told me personal something. So I wouldn't know what's going on because where I'm going to go. Like afterwards, or you rush to. I'm always here to help you. You have a little thing in your head, in your bucket. But I'm here because I have experience and I got people there who help you to make it yourself back. We can figure out how to do a meeting. Like I said, somebody being responsible. You're not going to have a title because you have to understand, first of all, you don't get paid for that, but you need to have the time, and I know we all busy, so I'm going to let you help me, please, have to find me. And it's vendors is another thing that I like to know why did the city take so long, they get paid, because the money's there. Money there. When they order another things, all the vendors, they get it. Why sometimes when we got vendors local here, they always work for us, they take care of it. And another thing is when the pack leaders, because I saw it in with my own eyes, when they order stuff for the pack or but any events, don't order stuff parents not gonna use it. And don't order stuff because the principal asked, or the teacher asked, I need this for my room. Come on. And that's why I'm always on top of that. You need to order stuff. Of course, you need to order food because you have to pay parents, but don't tell me the whole 10 months you're gonna spend your money in food. Because I see my school, they're spending all the money in food. That's part, you have to get very full, but what kind of workshops are you doing? Well, who you paying to do workshop? The Title I book, I just remember, Title I book. Title I book is that right now, if the state, they decide to come and say, where you spend the money. Give me the proof where you spend the money. Each leader, they're supposed to have that. I remember that happened. Years back, the school had it. The church department said, let me see the Title I book. Let's read what did you did each month. Sign in, workshop, flyer, what you did, where you spend the money in that month. And that's called the Title I book. So they have a, record where the money go. Second, the other thing, we talk about that so many times is the B10. You got two different B10. That's the one, the B10 the secretary do. And they have the other B10, you have it to have it, the back president, the BTS president do it. Because sometimes you got people that got title, but you need to work. You need to do the job. Just mean the B10, you order whatever you have to do, any company, right? What do you have? Just to give it to the secretary, this is what I'm gonna spend. It's more easy for the secretary too, because when the secretary, let's say the number 4350, so the secretary put the number in that record, they pop out, what did you order? I see that. And then that means in the principal and the president signing. Without that two signature, they cannot be approved. In that you have a record, how much money you have. And the end of the year, okay, I know I spent the money or something happened, they don't match them. Let's say they don't match the B10 money in your record, they don't match with your office. So you need to figure out, that's what the president is, okay, no, I got a B10, I know how much money I spent. It's very important, the B10 is very easy to do it. The president is easy to do it, okay, I ordered 10, let's say 10 notebook, 10 notebook, cost this, I'm meaning 10 total. And the principal and the president will have to sign it for the same day, the same time.
As a result, we audited this year with the State Department of Education that came in. One of the items on their list is our overall systems work and how we do the accounting and the forms that we're using. And so I'm gonna follow up with HR, just kind of working, coordinating that with finance to see, have they thought about PAC money, how, and my guess is it's gonna be very similar to the school interest funds. Like the hat money, the t-shirt money, selling ice cream, those things. My guess is, so I want to make sure that they come up with plans specifically for this, and what about next year.
That's another thing you said, you're very poor about when you sell stuff in the school,
Yes,
the money has to stay in the school. They cannot use the pack of BTS money to buy stuff and make money.
I have to write now, I know they're gonna have to write a receipt for
Yeah.
everything. They have to put it into a bank account. Here, I guess it's gonna be controlled from downtown.
Yeah, oh, no, I don't know, but maybe they change it, but the school, that money have to be stable, but they cannot buy stuff from the pack and BTS money to do fundraising.
Yes,
They cannot be doing that. And whatever money they use, they have to stay, the school or another account, they're not put it, and they can use separate pack or BTS some money. They cannot be used for that. So it's very important, I don't want to mix the people getting nervous for that.
Yeah, actually, that was clearly stated. We talked about that the other night. We had that discussion at the meeting. Just in the, when we were reviewing the policy. And it's somewhere in the back of my mind is this thought that we also talked about why bills get held up. And Nestor said something. And I just can't remember what it was about why bills get held up. And I just, it's been bothering me ever since you brought it up again tonight. So it's worth following up with Nestor. Because it's sort of, when he said it the other day, I remember thinking of your PAC PTSO complaint about bills being held up. And I wondered if that was one of the reasons those bills got held up. That they weren't properly, the paperwork wasn't done properly. So, and I'm assuming that in all of this, the streamlining of our processes should make everything better. And so, And it's probably the best place for this discussion to happen with, him. Somebody from his office about how that works, since there's nobody here handling the money. That's where we should have that discussion.
Other thing is, this is part of the public yourself. Student Government Council, SGC.
Right.
That's some schools that don't have it. Some packet videos on, they don't know what that. And I know the packet parent is involved. And I know we got bylaws.
Well,
Yeah, we got
that's a
bylaws.
different law. That's not that PTS, so it's a different law.
No, but they're part of the SGC.
Yeah, they can be, but it is a different law, and that's the state law, state regulation.
No, I know, I understand that, but they're part too, because I know, parent, they, being a part of parents. Well,
You'll find that's normally the same parents, yes.
Mhm.
The same parents that are involved with PAC PTSO are involved with the school governance council, the school leadership team before that. But it is a different law that is defining in requires the school to have a school governance. That's the rules governing our PAC PTSO, different rules and laws that are governing our school governance. And that's a different thing that we need to make sure that we're doing right too.
Yeah.
Because that's Reliance High School, that's the commissioner's office.
And we did a check on
Yeah.
We did.
last year. We inventoried all our schools to make sure they were having.
Yeah.
That was part of your checklist that you
Yeah.
had them.
Right.
That's
all
Yeah.
This we have that.
Also, all this needed, at least they need to have, 2 meetings. With the parents. Like I said, 1 meeting with the. Cabinet, officers to plan what they're gonna do for, each month. And the other one is the, convention information. Yeah, what they're gonna do, stuff like that,
What was, I heard you mention an amount. The convention. How much was that? What's missing?
For 9,000 from 2000, let's see, 19 to now, so manage what, almost 60,000 dollars, like that.
54, I thought.
Something, yeah, that including 9,000 for this year, so.
I'm not sure where the 9,000 is coming from. I don't know if that was.
Each year is $9,000.
But is that part of the PAC money?
No, it's a parent convention, is separate.
Was that
No, the
comes in-
fact
that
that-
comes in with the PAC PTSO grant?
The Alliance, because PAC is part of the Alliance, the Title One.
No, we didn't, no. This was a few, the parent convention, we see another it's different money for the parent convention.
Okay.
They don't take it from the parent PTSO funding. That's separate.
Did the superintendent previously agree to pay that kind of a money, or did it?
It's
come
coming from the state.
Because it was back in.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's coming, that money is separate. They're not coming from the bag of PTSO, it's separate.
Oh.
Yeah,
Where in the state?
I think it's coming from the grant money, grant side of money, yeah. It's not coming from the bag of PTSO, no. It's separate. It's separate money.
PAC PTSO is federal, right?
That's the Alliance.
Yeah, that's what money we, yes, of course. But that $9,000 is coming separate from the state. It's only for parent convention, for do a parent convention. Like I told you, I remember.
And, okay, I got you. So that's a clue as to where we gotta look, where it came from and where it disappeared to. Two, how much would you have a convention for $10,000?
When I was, yeah, $9,000. Right.
I'm rounding up.
Yeah.
Just bear with me.
Yeah.
So for $10,000, you could have a convention. Okay. So now we should find out about the missing money. But the real question is it too late in the year to have a convention this year?
It's
Too late.
It's like, they're not-
It's not too late to have a convention next year,
No, I mean, you-
regardless of what we find out about the money. We should be able to find $10,000 for next year's convention. Regardless. We find out where the money came from and we get it this time. Or we find another source to give us $10,000 to have a parent convention, right? We should be able to find the money one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
In that part, you can ask
That-
next one.
Hmm?
Okay, next one.
no,
Okay, so
grants.
yeah.
Grants.
Yeah.
We should find somebody in grants that can find us a source that will bequeath us $10,000 to $20,000.
We also have to-
Community. Huh?
We do have to, yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm not ruling Nestor out.
Yeah,
But that's not bothering Nestor with that. Nestor can try and help us figure out where that money came from before. If that's a viable source for the future. What happened to that money, that stuff, absolutely. But I'm just saying, $10,000 is an amount of money that we should be able to find somewhere in the community.
Sure.
Somebody who's willing to, bequeath that money on our back PTSO to have a convention at the end of the year. And frankly, it should be $20,000 to have a nice convention, right? And we should be able to get some supporters in the community to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, I was the last one to the bank convention. I used exactly $9,000 and I still had receipt. I had to go back and bring it to you. You can say, you suppose that was the last one you supposed to get. Or with the $9,000 with, for this year, but we never still did it. It's supposed to be in total $63,000.
Okay.
So, like I said, you find out, it's separate. It's not, if you would think it was part of the bank, it did not. It's a different grant, like you say, grant office, different grant money we receive it for doing that.
Okay, so the last question for me is, are we doing anything with the parents at the end of the year? Any collective action?
From the district level, no. I know schools have all of their individual end of the year.
No, but the district, I'm
The
asking.
only thing the district is doing is we are, through the summer, we are hosting parent engagement activities from the district level in collaboration with the enrollment center. So every Wednesday night, we're offering parent engagement activity supported by the district.
That's for
Yeah.
parents and throughout the district. What I'm asking about is our PAC PTSO leaders. Are you doing anything with them? Sorry.
They really don't, they really spend the money, so when they finish school's done.
I get it. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at leadership development. Anything to help them develop them as leaders, build them as leaders, anything.
There's nothing.
Anything else on PAC PTSO?
No, I'm very clear of everything, so I'm okay. Thank you, Ms. Carey, for everything.
Mr. Medina?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm just gonna make my way.
To this day, Gary still volunteers and some of our alumni.
Thank everyone for your patience. I'm in an award ceremony, so through the chair, I just wanted to express myself with everyone in the room. Just wanted to share my opinion on what's everything that I've heard, every question, every statement, every word that I've been listening to throughout. This is an opportunity for us. This is, for me personally, a foundational thing that we support our district in with our parents, involving our parents, our campuses directly, our campus leaders directly. And this is something that we need to get right now. I've heard every single one of these words. So either we're gonna step up and work together to get this right finally, the way it used to be. I thought we were in the right path. So I'm gonna put it out there on the table. I guess I'm gonna work with my brother Albert to make sure that we work together. And if you thought we were involved before as passionate old PAC members of our family for our kids, you guys haven't seen nothing yet. We need to get this right. This is, for me, a foundational thing that we can actually help our own district elevate, because that is a great collaboration with our parents and our schools directly as board members, as community leaders, and we need to get this right. Whatever meeting that we need to go to sit down, to collaborate, to mind things, might even with the suggestion and support of you guys, maybe have an IHA committee just for this, just for PAC, where we can finally get this right, because this is foundational and this is a way that we can get support for what's coming, what's here before us, climbing this hill that we still got to climb with educational funding, but also what's going to happen next year and the year following. This is our foundation. It starts with our foundation. For me, this is foundational. So let's work together. I look forward to hearing from somebody from this group and anybody that's listening that want to partner up and really have those sit down conversations as community leaders, as parents, as the leaders from this district that we got roots. They might not see our roots, but our roots are deep when it comes to this. And Upper and I have been, in my opinion, a little bit quiet with this. So I'm going to spark a little fire in him, and I hope he will do the same thing with me. But this is our baby. This is our foundation. So either you're with, I always tell you the same thing that I've always told everybody, either you're with us or you're against us. And I know that we can do a lot better than this. So please accept this as a extending of a branch or a fire to make sure that we get this right, because this is, for me personally, I'm mad at myself because we let this get to this point right now with the lack of information, with the lack of answers to our questions, to the lack of sharing information that we asked for. And I think I've about had it personally, but then now it puts fire on my responsibility as an adult, because these kids and our parents that voted for us in our district to do this job, and this is for me, my brother Albert, to do this job, expect better from us, and they should not be collateral damage for what's not happening within the parents and with the students. So I thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to speak. And again, I look forward to hopefully hearing from some of you that want to partner up and have these little sit downs or whatever you need to do, whether it's IHAC committee. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Mr. Medina, when did you come in on the discussion?
I've been in the discussion from the very beginning, sir. You guys were maybe 2-3 minutes into the meeting when I came in. I don't know the exact time, but I've been involved. I've been
Because-
listening.
Okay, the reason I ask is that the latest report that we got is that the PAC money has been extraordinarily well spent this year.
Okay, I wasn't talking this, I didn't have a theme, to the chair, I apologize. I didn't have a theme. I was not complaining about PAC money not being spent. I didn't say anything about that. But I would love, with all due respect, I would love to have seen it. I would love to have seen it. I would love to have seen it because there was nothing in the PAC.
I wasn't done.
Well,
So I wanted to first check and see if you had heard that part. So
well,
that's what I was asking.
I should have saw it. I should have saw it. With all due respect, I should have saw it. It should have been part of our package. So with all due respect, I do not mean any disrespect to anybody in the room, including you, especially you. We should have seen this.
Mr. Medina, are you done? Can I speak now?
Go right ahead.
Thank you, sir.
You
Mr.
asked a
Chair.
question, so I was trying to answer it. Go ahead.
You know, you did answer it, and I was trying to give the answer, reason I asked, and you wouldn't let me. So that was why I was asking, is that we had started the meeting with the report that we were provided. I understand that you hadn't seen it, and you weren't here at the start of the meeting, and Miss Esther Mary Jimenez was here, and the report was sent to her. I agree with you, the report was not in our portals, but it was sent to Miss Esther Mary Jimenez before we started the meeting. I had asked you if you were coming to the meeting, you said no. So I didn't know you were gonna be here. You weren't here when we started the meeting, and I saw you come on later in the meeting, and we didn't send you the packet. You did, okay, so the packet was sent to you. So you have the packet, and that's why I wanted to make sure you had that data to you. So you have the data that was reported on the beginning of the meeting. And that was the essence of the item on the agenda, was the PAC PTSO spending. Mr. Benahan Grajales expanded the discussion to discuss the district PAC, which was not on the agenda. The agenda item was the expenditure of PAC PTSO money for the year. So that's why I asked, when you started talking about what was neglected or ignored, we have done a better job. We're seeing an improvement over last year on the money spent at all the schools in the city, except a couple. 3 to be exact, which were highlighted in Ms. Rocha Reyes's report. Which if you got here when you got here, that you say, I didn't notice when you came online. Were 3 schools that she spoke to. So that's why I asked. That's the only reason I asked if you had heard that report and the schools that she mentioned, but otherwise, the report shows a market increase and improvement in the expenditure of PAC PTSO money by the schools in our district, which is a dramatic improvement from last year. So that's what I was asking about, and that's why I asked you that question. What we have then explored, spent some time exploring, which was not the reason this item was on the agenda this year, was the district PAC questions. That was a different issue. It was not on the agenda for tonight's discussion, but I allowed that discussion to occur. So that's a different item. And we have again been told in your policy committee last year that PAC PTSO is not our business. So that's something for you to raise with the chair and speak to the chair about with regard to your suggestion. Having said that now, we have spent close to an hour on this item, and the item that I'd like to move to is the special ed, which is on the agenda for tonight.
Mr. Wisconsin, you could appreciate
Yes, of course, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez.
Just going to open up with the curricular resource request.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. One of the goals that we've had this year is to find research-based curriculum, supplemental curriculum for our special education students. Where we have landed is Everway Unique Learning System, ULS. The comprehensive standards aligned curriculum specifically designed to meet the needs of students with moderate to significant disabilities. It provides differentiated, accessible instructional materials that support academic, functional, and life skills development across grade levels. It's built on evidence-based practices, and it incorporates the principles of universal design for learning to ensure that all students can meaningfully engage with grade level content. We use a portion of this already with our speech language pathologists, the symbol sticks. And just adding on to that, this is going to be more for our self-contained classrooms, our LEAP students, which have functional IEP, and our SMART classrooms. We did do a demo with teachers and received the feedback was well received. And just like, you know, what we're finding is that our teachers don't have a supplemental curriculum. So this is actually going to help them and support them in implementing the IEP goals and objectives and effectively instructing our students. The quote that we have for a year for our current classrooms with unlimited access for students is $64,957.02.
This is a proposal for a new program.
Yes.
I thought I'm a little confused.
So
I thought we were
the,
being
it's
told-
that what the overall review of special ed is coming next.
Okay,
This is, it's just that little component of it. We may just need to get that to the board, next board meeting.
okay.
The final board
So-
presentation.
Yeah, it's just out of context for me. By start
Well,
leading,
for
you're
review.
leading with this versus the program. the changes and then sort of how that fits in.
Sorry about that.
It's the way my brain operates. So but there is a question that immediately I am going to ask, which is, the demo was provided to teachers on May 15th. Is that what you mean about you tried it with teachers?
Yes.
How many teachers are we talking about?
Oh, there were about 10 teachers present.
In one school?
No, it was across the district. And it was a variety of LEAP teachers, which is our functional classroom, and SOAR teachers as well, which is for our students with emotional. Used this previously in VS1, just during that time period. But less.
What school?
Extended school year.
Yes, extended school year.
Specific special. So next we'll start with the data review, which is. This is like an overall balcony view of special education.
So we'll start with our total special education student enrollment. We ended the 24-25 school year with 4,051 students. As of today, we have 4,156 students. If you look at the total enrollment of the district, last year it ended with 19,686. Which left our percentage of special education population at 21%. And then for this school year, we are seeing the total enrollment at 19,010 students, with our special education population being 21.9. As you can see, although our total enrollment is down, our special education enrollment is averaging about the same. And the self-contained students in the district, 25, 26, 800. That should be 24, 25, 814.
That's 25, 26 this year.
No, the first column should be 24.
The second one is 26, 27 is our projection.
Okay, so currently we have 814 students and we're projecting 828, but that number definitely could likely increase as we continue to enroll and identify students.
So the second column is 26, 27, right?
Teacher vacancies as of May 22nd, 26, and we've kind of varied on this. We have 4 vacancies. Currently, we've been as low as 1 compared to last year where we were at about 31 vacancies. So definitely an improvement.
Okay. And I understand why that's a concern. Be clear, why do we have vacancies now?
There was retirement and resignations. And we've not been able to.
When they leave, we ask them why they're leaving. Why are they leaving?
We don't have that information today. However, Dr. Avery and I have been to a superintendent's roundtable. And with specifically SPED teachers, we did the first one last week. Thursday, I believe, where we did an open invitation to all SPED teachers to get them in the room to talk about the changes. Because our concern, asking them, give us a chance to get these improvements in place. Such things as decreasing class size, more teacher support. Are the two big nuts that we wanted to make sure we communicated, and we actually just said, please give us a chance before you leave our district. We have another one scheduled on June 11th. Our next one. It's at 3:30 at Harding High School.
I believe is the first Blue Ribbon Commission and the EE retirement.
Yes,
Is it
we
big?
may change, yeah, I don't think it's before that, we have to I don't know.
But are we doing the exit interviews?
Chris is online.
Dr.
Hi, everybody.
Dr. Chiano, are we doing exit interviews?
We're currently setting up a system for exit interviews. The supervisors and principals do them informally, but we don't have a district-wide tracking system for exit interviews at this point. But we're going to set those up for next year.
So then these 4 leave, we don't know why.
No, they left before the end of the school year. A couple of them left for opportunities in other districts. One was a retirement. But we haven't been able to hire a full-time staff member at this time of year to fill those positions because it's the end of the school year. But we're tracking those to hire as soon as possible for next year. We also have our interns and apprentices in special education to place for next year. So, June 25th is when the vacancy number is going to roll over until the 26-27 school year.
Okay, so you do have some idea. I mean, I can't imagine. I know in my building, when somebody left, we knew why. So absent the formal exit interview, which is always useful, everybody in the building knew why somebody was leaving. So, you just said in your comments, one person retired. Why they chose to retire in the middle of the year is always a question that most people had some idea, or if they left for another district, we knew that. So you clearly knew that about at least a couple of them. So that's what I'm getting at is, again, we have said this, I feel like Mr. Benahin-Grajales about PAC PTSO, but we have said this in numerous meetings since before you got here about we used to have these forms at Board of Ed meetings that said when we hired people, when they left, and it generally said where they were going, why. We knew this, everybody knew this. And the more we know this, the better off we are in the district. And it's a fact of life in Bridgeport that people leave us for greener pastures. It's just built into the system. And we want to make this pasture as green as we can, but it's still a fact of life that you make 10 to 15,000 more to go to Stratford and 20 to 25,000 more to go to any other district around us. And that's not talking about working conditions. That's just talking about your salary. So we just are tracking this is really what we're doing. And within the buildings, most people know what pasture they went to. So I just think that we need to, get on top of that. Because the more we're on top of it, the better off we are. And in sped teachers, that's even more important. Y'all are doing things now that we didn't used to do when I started. So I think we want to get even better at that in terms of tools in your chest to use to retain teachers.
And I stand corrected, those 4 that are listed are resignations.
Already what?
Resignations for vacancies for SPED.
We said one was retirement.
Right, but I was looking at the wrong line. It's resignations.
Okay, well.
At least one of those did go to.
Greener pastures.
We
Oh.
are working on getting you personnel data as part of a regular board report for
Yeah.
each board meeting. So
Yeah,
we
I
will-
get that. I'm not trying to bring that up again as much as it just, that's one of the components. And in this report, it's just, we know right away, okay, we lost and we know why. Why Bridgeport has never had layoffs. So, but with this particular position, and obviously this is much better than a year ago, we want to make sure that we hold on to special ed teachers. So when we want to know why on each and every one. So. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Into special education chronic absenteeism.
So, as part of the work that we do at the district level, holding district attendance team meetings, we always place an extra emphasis and focus on special education chronic absenteeism for students identified as receiving specialized instruction. So this is just an up-to-date report of, school by school, of enrollment of special education students, the number of number of days, and then their percentage of being chronically absent. Chronic absenteeism is missing 10% or more of available school days. But what I really want to focus on is some of the positive data coming out of the special ed department when it comes to students being chronically absent. Over the last 3 months, we've seen a 1% decline month to month of chronic absenteeism. The last report to the Ed site, which is the State Department of Education, they were at 38.1%. So we are seeing the numbers trending in the right direction. And specifically 2 locations, the Transition Academy and Bridgeport Learning Center, year-to-year comparison, the Transition Academy is down 15% and Bridgeport Learning Center is almost down 3%. So those are some really great evidence of work for special education, work that we're doing for this population of students to decrease chronic absenteeism.
Wait, what is the district overall at the same point in time at the end of May,
At the end,
based on our calculations?
well, where we are to date right now is 38.3.
That's sped.
That's sped. Oh, as a district, the last poll was 38%, pretty much the same. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify for my own sake,
Absolutely.
chronic absenteeism is just not here. It's not, there's no mixing, playing around with the absence. We play around with absence for staff, we play around with, if you're out 3 days with the same illness,
Right.
it's one absence. Chronic absenteeism is just each day you're out is an absence.
Exactly. And
Okay.
furthermore, it includes every absence, even if you have a medical documentation and the absence is excused or you're suspended from school. Any reason why you're out, it counts.
So you're suspended 2 weeks, that's 10 days. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I just, with the way I wanted to clarify, I knew the definition, I just wanted to make sure that the way you said it, I wanted to make sure that I understood it clearly.
Absolutely.
So it's a stupid definition.
And if you reach 18.
No, I don't, I just, it's an impractical, let me be more diplomatic, definition, because it doesn't take into account, the kids that we have that, have those circumstances, it counts against them. We went to a wedding in Jamaica last year. The child missed 3 or 4 days. So it counted as 3 or 4 days absent. So it happens. I know we used to have students that would go away for a couple of weeks around Christmas. Back to another country and then come back. you know, those things happen to our kids because they have families living abroad. And they combine that for economic reasons. You know,
Half days are another issue.
Hmm?
Half days, because for many families, having the child picked up.
Yes.
Half day is also a big issue. for the
Absolutely.
child.
Absolutely, half days are a problem.
Once a student reaches 18 absences, they're chronically absent for the year, for
Right.
the 180 days.
Right,
So
so
they won't be able to.
despite my effort to be diplomatic, it is an impractical definition in some ways, but it is the legal one we have to work with. I get it. So, but we are, your point being that we are improving
We are.
to the satisfaction of the folks that monitor this stuff.
We're making slight improvements. We're moving in the right direction. I think with the lead home visitor that's supporting the special education department has also been really helpful.
And then you're saying were the sped students worse before?
Yes, this is an improvement.
This-
If you look at our
Because
elementary
you're saying now that they're basically the same as the regular ed students.
last
They
year,
had been
Yeah.
significantly higher.
the other thing to notice too is that our elementary sped students from below the district average of 38. All our high school students who are the big issue. It's all a big issue. It's all.
Is that true with regular ed too, though?
Is primarily,
I think it's some interesting work that we're doing is looking at what the student's primary disability is, so we can identify students that have this as their primary disability. They have the highest levels of chronic absenteeism, so we can just be a little bit more intentional about like interventions that we're putting in place based on that data.
Yeah.
So a lot of work happening with it.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Are there any questions about the chronic absenteeism part of this? We just stop there because this is a huge cache of information. Willie or Maritza?
You said you only had the topic of absenteeism, correct?
Well, or I guess it could be something else we've already discussed. Otherwise, I'm just stopping here on this cache of information.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I know as I look at the agenda, because it was shared through me through text, because I didn't have an agenda, there was no agenda on the portal. I want to make sure you're talking about A, as far as education A that we're on right now, or is that where you want to stop? I just want to make sure I'm in the right area and I ask the right questions accordingly.
Well, you have this packet, Willie.
I don't have this packet. There is no
It was sent to-
packet.
It was sent to you.
Okay, I look at
That's
portal,
what
so
That's what.
I like to
that's-
have with all due respect, I look at the portal and I have no packet. So that something was sent to me individually as an email, that doesn't help me when I'm gotta prepare for these meetings prior to having the meeting. So I'm sorry that when you discussed that earlier, you shared that was sent to me, which was the other information, according, about the PAC and PTSO. Right now, I want to make sure that you ask a question. Anybody has a question with this theme, and I want to make sure that we're talking about line A, special education A, or specifically, or we're moving forward to B, because before we move to B, I definitely do have questions.
we are on B.
Willie?
You're on B?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't notice that we went on to B. Do apologize because I have questions for A and I did not hear that we moved on to B. So not a problem. I'll move on. I'll send my questions to them
No,
directly.
I'm trying to answer you. I asked us to hold A because to me, I didn't want to do A first. A would fit in when we get done with reviewing the overall. I wanted to come back to A. I did say that. I said A
Okay.
didn't make sense to me. I'm still trying to answer. It didn't make sense to me to do A until we heard the overall report on the entire SPED report and how A fit into the overall SPED report. So we then went into the overall SPED report. This packet, which includes the PAC PTSO, was emailed to you, which is what we said the first time you talked. Now, I understand and don't disagree with you that this was not put in our portals. But it was, as sent to you about 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, when we were trying to exchange thoughts. That at the beginning of the meeting, you were emailed the package. And the package contains all of this stuff which we were all given at the beginning of the meeting. So you have this package that was given to us at the beginning of the meeting. It was emailed to you at the beginning of the meeting. We are now on the page about chronic absenteeism, SPED chronic absenteeism, which Ms. Rocha is just reported to us and we have been discussing. So I am asking if anybody, since it is so much data, has any questions on this page.
Well, like I said, I'll send my questions directly for those departments and those individuals for what I have questions for. And respectfully so, I did not vote and I didn't know that there was a vote to move and table A for the time being. So that's also a surprise to me. So that's why I thought that would be the proper protocol to table something or move on forward. And I didn't know that I voted for anything or that anybody voted. So respectfully so, I thank you, but all my questions, I'll just send it directly and I'll share with the board my questions and what answers I got from them. Because I'm not in the mood right now to be going around circles with anyone at this moment, because this is not the way this is supposed to be running. And I don't know when it was acceptable by anybody to not being given the information. We've been yelling for the last 2 years concerning our information being given. And I just don't feel
Mr. Pena,
that this, no, excuse me, sir.
you're out
So
of
I
order.
don't feel, excuse
You're
me,
out
sir.
of order. You're out of
How
order.
am I out of order? Please explain that to me.
Because this is the third time you've given us a lecture about how to proceed. We don't need to hear this again. I have said you're right about this. I don't disagree with you about whether or not we should be getting stuff in our packets in advance. This is, we don't need to hear it again. You got the packet the same time as the rest of us. And so we are now proceeding to try and hold the meeting and go through what we were given. I made the decision as a chair to come back to this at what I think is the appropriate time. If you don't agree with my decision, you can argue with me later. We're going to come back to that. We're moving through the information we were given on SPED. That's my decision as a chair. There's no vote. It's my decision as the chair to go through the information. So I am now asking if you had a question on chronic absenteeism. If you don't, just say no, please.
Well, that was asked and answered. So respectfully so, that was asked and answered. Thank you.
And the answer is no. Thank you.
It was never no, sir. Respectfully so to the chair, you're out of order because I was not out of order because I had the floor. So if I have the floor and I want to speak about the topic that I want to
No,
speak
sir.
about, I have a
No.
right to speak accordingly.
Correct.
And I would move forward
Not
and
correct.
just say, thank you for your time. And I'm not here to argue with you. But when I have the
No.
floor, I would ask everyone to respect my time having the floor, like
Sorry.
I respect everybody else's time when they have the floor to say whatever they would like to say, as long as it's
You
not
don't.
being disrespectful. So, excuse me?
Right to speak about whatever you want to speak about. I asked a question about whether you had a question on this sheet. That's all.
And I did answer that. Asked and answered, and I'll repeat it again for you and for everybody and
Thank
for
you.
the record. That's what I like to have the record that I said I will respectfully so step back, and I said that I will send my questions
Thank
to
you.
those departments, and that was my answer. Not that I
Thank
didn't
you.
have questions. So just
Thank
for the
you.
record, thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Ms. Maritza, Esther Mara Jimenez, do you have any questions on the chronic absenteeism sheet?
I don't, but I do really appreciate you guys tracking all this information and seeing that the sped numbers in comparison to last year are actually lower and comparable to that of the rest of the population. So really happy to see that we're trending in the right direction. So thank you.
Go to the next page, please.
Next one is special education suspensions and expulsions. Thank you.
Sure, of course.
This summarizes by school and total district the number of special education students that had an internal ISS and an outside suspension or an expulsion. That's your first four columns. We then compared that to the total ISS, OSS, and expulsions for that school to come up with what percentage did our sped students make of that by school as a total of suspensions. With the idea of using this to highlight schools that are being successful in reducing their number of sped suspensions and expulsions. So for instance, when you look at biotech at Fairchild Wheeler, now, albeit their numbers, overall sped numbers are lower, their numbers were limited to only 17%. So the items highlighted in green are schools that were that had a lower percentage of sped students than the district average. Our district average 38% of our total district expulsions and suspensions for sped students. And I just wanted to highlight the schools like Multicultural, Interdistrict, Bryant, Blackrock, and the biotech schools that are well below our district average. So the next step with this is what are they doing right now? We've given two schools, we've really done a tremendous effort this year in working with our principals and looking at when it comes, for instance, expulsions, when it comes to expulsions, can we do a stipulated expulsion agreement for all students as opposed to expelling? Before bringing a special education student up for expulsion, they need to have a manifestation meeting. All students actually have to have a manifest to see if it's a manifestation of their disability. And we're also working with our principals prior to my arrival and prior to current interim superintendent. There was a 1 fight, 10 day out of school. 10 day out of school was an automatic go-to for suspensions. And we've been working with our administrators to do a more restorative practice to do, can a child learn the same lesson in 5 days? Do we have to go to 10 days or can we get them back into school? The idea being, we need our kids in school, we need them to have a seat in the house, unless it's a extremely egregious situation where there was intentional harm, or weapons, drugs, etc.
Okay. I get the point that we have less suspensions. But what we don't know is how many less students we have.
Well, we know our special ed students have increased from last year. If you go
But
back,
in a given school.
in the school, no, we don't have that level of detail. We can get that, we don't have that.
Right. So,
That would certainly impact it, you're right.
at, Bryant,
This won't tell you last year.
well, you've got 82 students, right?
So at Bryant, there are 98 special ed students,
How many now?
98.
Oh, so I'm sorry, the 82 are the ones for chronically absent.
It's
Oh, 82.
82 is the special ed enrollment. 31 are chronically absent.
No, that's why you say 98.
So I'm looking at the sped school enrollment as of 5/27.
So I'm looking at the sped pool enrollment as of 5/26.
Crystal report that we received today, it says Bryant has 98. And So don't know if that will. If
Into forward data
students
management.
enrolled, but yes. Following up with data management, and this was a report that was
Created on.
that was
26.
created. So he may have
By
pulled,
26.
he may have pulled the data from a different source, whereas the Crystal report, it comes in. It's like every other day, so I'm not sure. Discrepancy.
That's pretty serious discrepancy, though. 16 students. But in any case, they're both numbers up pushing 100, and Bryant School has no in-school or out-of-school suspensions.
Especially.
So it's not,
This one, I think most probably because this one has a pre-K, they don't calculate pre-K
That's
in the thing, so that's why Bryant has a pre-K there, that's what the 92 is. Talking about.
Was great.
Yeah,
wait a minute, wait.
Page,
So you
actually,
have a special ed pre-K?
yeah, but it's not included, they don't count.
You have a
into that.
special ed pre-K?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes,
I did see that.
yes.
16.
It's a special ed. They have
it's-
actually a
it's a
special ed
difference.
pre-K.
16.
That makes
Oh, sorry.
metal pins
Yes,
and has some beds.
yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. So, but the reason I was looking was to get a sense of the context. And that makes it, very impressive. If you have a school with 82 non-pre-K special ed students, and they haven't had a single special, suspension in school or out of school. Or
Alan's another one.
interdistrict discovery has 3.
Alan's only had one, the 100.
And they only have 30. Allen has 66.
Alan had one suspension.
No, but I'm saying 66 students.
Yeah.
And they only have 1 suspension. You didn't give them a green light. Why did you give them a green light?
I think I got thrown off.
Yeah.
100%.
They should have had a green light.
Yeah.
They should have had like the separate.
And multicultural has 65. Multicultural has 2, yeah.
It really reflects the differences in styles and approach to discipline.
Yep. And oh, I see, yeah. Yeah, okay, well, that's very interesting, and so. What do we do with something like this? Did you say? I know
This
you
is
said
something
something, I'm
that-
sorry, I was looking at the numbers.
We wanted to discuss, have more conversations with our principals that are running below district average, and then seeing how we can help support a principal score above the district average.
Yep.
And there are certain, I know I've worked with the high schools through the expulsion side of the plan. Cause of fights, because of some gang related issues or neighborhood, I should say, more neighborhood related issues. It's not as they have to take a stand, and very often having a stipulated expulsion agreement isn't always fine.
Well, I was gonna say that it would appear that the big schools and high schools were mostly your problem, but that's not entirely true.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay, I get it. Any questions on that data? Mr. Romero? Jimenez?
Oh, sorry, no questions from me. Thank you.
Thanks. Have the special education division restructuring. Dr. Avery. Historically, being prior to my time and when I first got here, as well as Dr. Avery, special education and the academic divisions were in separate silos. In fact, that just the location in the hallway, special education's down that side of the hall, we're down this side of the hall. There were some people in our prior administration who did not feel that they should have any interaction to. Dr. Avery believes very strongly that we should work together, right? Because if you think about our mindset at schools, if the average teacher doesn't feel, and they look at a special education student, well, that's the special education teacher's issue. I look at my multilingual learners, oh, that's a multilingual learner teacher issue, as opposed to they're all my kids, right? And really trying to foster that mentality. So we said it starts internally. We have to foster that mentality. So by bringing it within our division, there's more opportunities. We'll go into more detail. The opportunities for collaboration, shelf reference, curriculum work. We're doing extensive amount of work in with our tier one. Michelle's recruited 20 teachers that are going to be working with our content directors and our general ed teachers and adding differentiation with our struggling learners, which is the first time, and the same if this happened in the past, I'm not sure, but it's the first time in the last 2 years that we've been able to do something like that. So we know that the workload, we have 6 supervisors, 6 special education supervisors, and they work out in the field. And currently, they had a mix of out-of-district schools and in-district schools. In-district being defined as our 39 internal Bridgeport Public Schools, out-of-district being ACES, and the out-of-district placement.
Okay, excuse me though, for the 6 for both.
6 total. We have 6 supervisors
Yeah, were they,
total.
was there a distinction when there's 6 in district, 2 out of district, or
No,
they
that's,
had a mixture of both?
they had a mixture of both out-of-district and in-district. So we looked at lining up, having 2 senior officers, one of a primary focus on compliance, the other with a focus on specialized instruction within the schools. Currently looking at allocating supervisors, 2 to the compliance out of district side and 4 to the specialized instruction side. Get into more detail on what each of these roles, how they'll be different. The directors of related service, social work, speech language, school psychology, that would all fall under the directors of related services, as well as all compliance issues. On the specialized instruction side, we've got our specialized schools of SCANE and DLC, and then we have BCBAs. So would be and we look at aligning the roles to our, we worked with the Connecticut State Department of Education, Dr. Abby, worked very closely with Michelle. They developed goals. So using those special ed goals that the state helped us define, we align the roles of the supervisors to these goals. Okay, so along with that, it was both both categories are dealing with compliance, right? You can't separate the compliance from in-district or out-of-district. That's gonna fall under both of those. Compensatory action would fall under the compliance category. Other goals aligned with the instructional officer is the supervisors and district placements, working with the human capital, professional learning and curriculum within the district, parent outreach, and following up on excess costs. On the other side, with our senior compliance officer, in addition to compliance and compensatory services, they're having a focus on out-of-district placements. Michelle has drafted a blueprint manual that she will remain overall, which describes the programs. They will also do professional learning and curriculum, parent outreach, and excess costs. The big differential between the two groups is an in-district versus an out-of-district. Yes,
Is there not compensatory, are there not compensatory issues on the in-district?
there are,
Okay.
that would fall in with the compliance area. And just monitoring it and then directing the in-district. So that, I mean, there's gonna be communication between the two sides, right? And
Okay.
it's gonna back and forth.
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Absolutely, absolutely. Moving on to the supervisory accountability. So in district, our goals would be bi-weekly school walkthroughs. This is where the supervisor would have a hands-on in-classroom coaching of teachers, also supporting principals on an as needed basis. In our schools, our principals are the PPT facilitators, okay? So they would only be consulted as a PPT,
Now we're down to we're no longer at the senior level, we're now.
right, supervisor,
To be, sits to the supervisor level.
right?
Okay,
So there's a PPT, they would serve as a PPT advisor on a special case where the principal wasn't sure how to proceed with it, they would support the principal. And then also providing professional learning and curriculum implementation with they work closely with the academic side in implementing professional learning as well as our curriculum. On the out-of-district supervisors, they're going to be doing biannual school visits, including annual audits and cost monitoring of the out-of-district placements. They will serve as the PPT facilitators as they do now for out-of-district placement. And they would do any kind of coordination that would result as a result. So for instance, if we're bringing someone back in from out-of-district, they would have coordinated in-district. Questions?
yes,
As usual, when I see the PPT, I don't know if it's been on here. I know when I went to the PPT and I went to the people video already, but Dr. Plana. Amazing people, they do amazing PPT. Hearing something before the meeting start. What was the,
It's a parent guide, it's their
Yeah.
rights and, so.
the question for you is because I go different PPT, different school. Some principal doesn't read that. They're supposed to do it, right? I'm just asking.
We are going to be unrolling
Okay,
as part of our August back to school workshops with our leadership. Michelle's done a fabulous job of coming up with checklists, protocols and procedures so that everyone can use them. So when it doesn't matter what PPT we go to, they're going to have the same guidelines and ones that we're going to work with our principals to make sure that they're following.
yeah.
That is a need that
Yeah.
we identified.
But Plana, he do that and maybe as the parent, do you have a copy, they're ready to give the copy and everything.
All the procedural
Yeah,
safe,
exactly.
safeguard.
I just let you know, again, he's always doing a good job. All right, thank you.
So as a result of all this, what is our hope is that this impact, when we look at our supporting our administrators and our teachers, they're gonna get specific targeted support. And one of the struggles that we've had this year with having so many new, 30-something new random people coming in as teachers is having the time to provide support. Honestly, we need 2 more supervisors, but given our financial constraints, we are looking at grants, outside grants to see if we can find them. But ideally, we would add 1 more supervisor to each side to really allow the supervisors to get into those classrooms, to plan with teachers, to model, to whatever capacity that the new teacher needs to help support them. We're also looking at doing differentiated professional learning this summer, so that rather than doing a one size fits all, every teacher gets the same ED. We're gonna be looking at who are those new TSAT teachers that are gonna need more support. Who, and really try, a 5-year teacher or a 2-year teacher needs different professional development than a 10-year teacher. They don't need to go back through everything again. They don't need to hear it all over. And then, every supervisor will have a very focused, hopefully balanced workload so that the number of new teachers and the DSAP teachers will have the balance between supervisors, so no one is overstressed with more than they can handle. As well as doing an analysis comparing for each school, coming up with a balance between number of resource kids, number of self-contained kids, within a school, and then number of special education teachers in general, and then the number of new teachers that are going to be in that school, so that we can try to balance out the workload. And then it would also help support our administrative support and out-of-district oversight. One of the guiding principles that has guided this work to date has been students first, putting our students first in any of these decision-making, collaboration, equity between schools, between buildings, between teachers, transparency, and data-driven decision-making. The final piece is where are we in the action plan timeline? This work was started in March. I called it phase 1, listen and learn. I interviewed every single person in the special ed department, executive assistants, to teachers, to supervisors, to Michelle and Wayne. The next phase was then I started going in, and I'm still in, I'm still in the school visit phase, going into, I prioritize schools with self-contained classrooms for special education. Those are my priority schools. Going into doing walkthroughs with principals and then sitting down with the principal and saying, okay, what's working well? What are the areas of growth? And if we fix one thing, okay, what to make your life easier, what would that be? Okay. What has come up, even though I'm not complete, I'm not done. Top of the list is class sizes. Class sizes, especially in our RISE and our autistic classrooms and in our behavior classrooms, are too high. Increase in students overall, it's way too high for teachers, and that's our fear. That was looking at this and projecting it forward. That was our first concern was, oh my goodness, are we going to start losing teachers? Because if you have class size, you're not being supported, and in fairness to our principals, not many of them are special education experts like our supervisors are. So what we're hoping is that by having more boots on the ground, focus on, rather than being out of district industry, just focus on that industry, have regular schedules, so I know when March is coming to my building, that's going to meet with my teacher, being able to support my teacher, and then being able to answer questions that principals are still going to supervise teachers, but then they can act to serve as help service or support. The number 1 was class size. Number 2 was again that teacher support component. Number 3 is improved communication. And this is an issue that we as a district struggle with just across the board. It's not just a special ed issue, it's all of us issues. And so we are really, with all of our departments, making a concerted effort on how can we improve our communications and how can we increase the timeliness of our response. our goal is within 24 hours. We don't often make it. However, I should say, we don't make 100%. However, that's our goal. That's what we're striving for, is to get back with principals, even to the point of, I don't, straight, I don't have an answer to your question. Give me some time to do the research. I'll get back to you. Because I think that was one area that just in general, our principals and teachers really requested. Another thing that we are going to do, and it sounds very simple. Sometimes the simplest strategies is what we noticed is that if someone sends an email, they'll include Sangita, Michelle, Marge, Mr. Traber, Mr. Out, they'll include everybody in the 2 line. Well, if you see 3 people in the 2 line, well, Sangita's gonna get this, oh, Michelle's gonna get this, so we're gonna encourage principals, when they do send us emails, send it to the person that you would expect an answer from. Copy the other people that whoever it is that you want to copy, but if I think by itemizing and putting one singular person in that 2 line, I think that's gonna help. It will help us, because from falling into that group mentality of, oh, they send it to the group, somebody else is gonna answer it. Now, how does this fit in?
No, not yet.
Okay, so
Retention. Remember I said retention. What are we doing to retain teachers? The one specific I mentioned to you was, um, they have, they have requirements to continue learning. And what are we doing? What can we do to help them with those requirements? And teachers are required to get advanced degrees. We have teachers, if we have DSAP, once they get their certification, they're still required to continue learning, right? Continue their education, to continue. I mean, I don't know what the current regs are, but
they're gonna require them to see you.
not CEUs. I know we got rid of those when I'm still teaching, but aren't they required to get a master's
Yes,
10 years.
absolutely.
within 10 years? Are we doing anything to help with that? Because that's expensive.
Dr. Ciano, can you answer that?
We have several university partnerships for people to get their initial certification. Right now, we don't have any incentive program to help existing teachers with certification to get their advanced degrees. It's something we can look at. We're also rolling out a stay interview program. We've been working with CES and Trumbull on training some of our HR staff to start rolling out stay interviews to target teachers in the district that have been here for a long time, and to learn why they're staying in the district as a way to improve our retention rates.
Okay, so. Okay, I get the latter. And on the former, there's a specific reality, which is if we get new teachers, special ed or otherwise, and they're required to get their masters within 10 years, then that's going to cost them money. And if they're underpaid in Bridgeport, then the reality is that at some point, they're going to go to where they make more money so they can afford to get their masters. Right?
Yes, tuition reimbursement would need to be negotiated in collective bargaining. I'm not sure if the district has had tuition reimbursement in the past.
No, we never did.
No, I've negotiated that contract a few times.
Yeah.
We haven't. There is nothing in the collective bargaining agreement that prevents the district from creating a program. And adding it on to the collective bargaining agreement as a side agreement. As in an effort to keep employees. You know, either as an, you know, MOU or anything else, but if we've identified this as a problem, and as you're having your stay discussions, part of it is going to be to identify how many people we have that, and I'm assuming, that we can fairly easily identify how many teachers we have that are going to be required to get their masters. You know, it wasn't hard for me. I mean, no, I don't mean me personally, when I was teaching, I was grandfathered on that requirement. I had master's credits. I didn't have to get a master's degree. But the requirement is there now. You can identify the teachers who are required to get that master's degree. You know, just, we know how many there are. We have a way of finding out how many there are and what the timeline is for them. So, you know, we know what the need is. That's one identifiable need that we can identify and try and figure out the way and sit down with the union to identify what we can do collectively. I mean, they just signed, so they're not going to be sitting down with us collectively bargaining for a number of years, yet we know that this is an factor that might influence whether they stay or go. So, you know, we need to take a look at this as how significant a factor is it. If there's only a few dozen employees, then it's not significant. If there's a few hundred employees, then it's significant.
Chris, do you want to, and this is old news, please correct me, but do you want to talk about the intern programs that we have and the residency programs?
I want to know about that.
It's for incoming new teachers.
Yep. And I have well, before you do that, Miss Esther Mary Jimenez,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Traver. I just wanted to underscore what you mentioned about the tuition reimbursement. And just wanted to mention that in like at work, for example, if when I was offered tuition reimbursement for my master's degree, I had to stay with the company for a certain amount of years. So that's something that can also help with our teacher retention rates.
We haven't had the money for that.
well, I understand. You and I believe you and I have talked about this. I've talked about it with Dr. Avery. I speak to, there is a woman in the east end of Bridgeport who is politically, you know, one of the forces to be reckoned with, Debbie Sims. And her son Vaughn, who I've watched grow up, is now in the Yale special ed program. And he will be getting his master's this fall, I believe. And he will be required to teach for a few years in the New Haven public schools as a result of getting that master's in New Haven.
We have that. Chris, you want to explain the way our programs work and how many we have in the?
Yeah, so we have about 20 overall through our university partnerships with University of Bridgeport, Sacred Heart, Southern Connecticut, and other schools that have similar programs. So they come and work in Bridgeport while they earn their advanced degree and certification. We give them a stipend for tuition, and then they're required, some of the schools are required to work 3 or 4 years in Bridgeport after they complete their program. So we have about, 5 or 6 from Sacred Heart that owe us, 3 or 4 years in special ed, and then others that owe us, 4 or 5 teachers in different subject areas. The majority of teachers are in special ed that'll be with us for 3 or 4 years at the conclusion of their program this year. So they would start 26-27 school year as their first of either 3 or 4 years. That's been successful for, getting them through their certification and their advanced degree. However, we could look at some kind of tuition reimbursement program for existing employees to get their advanced degree, we could certainly gather some more information about that to present to you at a future date.
How would that be different, if these are interns? Right?
Correct. They're teachers that do not have their current certification. So by the time they finish their master's degree, they have their certification and their master's degree while they've been working in Bridgeport Public Schools for 2 years.
Chris, this is like they stay at one school, correct? And they stay with like a specific teacher or a classroom.
Correct.
You and I know, remember about the intern program that they were talking about. We were housed in a building, but we used to be the daily subs, for lack of better.
Lower than a sub. Lower than a sub.
So now they are assigned to as like kind of a student teacher, but not so, but they are in a classroom, so they really learn the trade from an expert. teacher.
Yeah, Sacred Heart, UB, University of New Haven, all had the program, not Southern. Because I went to Southern for exactly that reason, to avoid those. Indentured servitude is what it was. They paid for your tuition.
That's cool.
The district paid for your tuition. You got a stipend for books. And you worked 5 days a week in the district. You came out with your certification at the end of the whatever time period it was, a year or two. At that time. And those schools all did it. And I remember going to some sessions and people saying, I don't get how this works. And I said, well, you're an indentured servant for 2 years. And I chose to go to Southern because I could work 3 days a week, any day, time I wanted, and take a day off anytime I wanted. And it was still, and in the end, I could balance out the cost at 3 days a week and work when I wanted to. But that was the difference. Southern was cheaper. But it worked for a lot of people and a lot of people did it. I just saw that when I subbed. Person that had to do whatever they were told was the intern. Beneath the sun.
There.
Beneath the sun. So, but yes, it's a good program for some people that wanted to do it. And a lot of people did it. But those are, okay, so, but then why can we not work out something like that for existing employees to get advanced degrees?
We could gather some information about that and we could present.
Because that's what I guess that's what I mean, I understand they can't go. Yeah, I guess we have to be creative and see what we can do to subsidize or figure out how to subsidize current employees' advanced education. And see what we can do, because that's the need, is if we have somebody who is a current employee and needs to get their master's, and they have at this point 5 or 10 years to do it. Somewhere in that range. We have to help them to get that. We have to do, and that helps us retain them. Both in terms of loyalty and in terms of a commitment. In exchange for that help. That same concept. And it certainly applies to SPED, but it would seem to me it applies to other areas too. Because the pattern that we've seen for as long as I can remember, and goes back to when I started in 2000, is teachers come here, cut their teeth in 5 years, and perfect their craft, and then they're marketable. We're a training school, we're a training ground. And if they're new kids coming out of college, they've gotten married and they're starting to have kids, and they want to make that extra money. And you know, they've trained in Bridgeport. And so we want to hold on to them. So the more we can do to help them, encourage them to stay, the better. But in this subject of tonight's discussion, we're focusing specifically on sped teachers who are you know, identified high need. And, but I would think that we want to, if we configured this out for sped teachers, it would have applicability to other high needs, um, designated, teaching certifications. And maybe the state would have some help. Well, they offer no, I'm thinking of the, you just talked about the, you know, the, what are we doing with the people that come in and they can work before they get certified?
Well,
Oh, the DSAP?
Yeah, DSAPs.
and Tito's also done a great job years past, helping teachers get cross certified. Because now the state has helped by saying you don't need all the math college hours. If you already have your teaching cert, you get, if you can pass the praxis, you can teach math.
Right, so we can identify needs that way too.
I think our district is still doing with the TESOL and the
Yes.
cross endorsement. We work with that, so that is how it.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the state has started because the problem has gone beyond the
It's
poor
not just
communities.
Bridgeport.
It's become an issue for the wealthier communities too, not being able to find teachers. Okay. All right, so now this. How does this fit into,
So, and as part of all this work, we, Michelle, if you want to just summarize.
Yeah, so it actually ties right back to the guiding principles in the presentation. To use, students first. We're really asking our teachers to significantly modify general ed curriculum. And when we did walkthroughs with Dr. Babby, we found in a lot of our classrooms, was new to us that the teachers didn't have those resources. Many of our teachers were using tutors, our teachers are still using Teachers Pay Teacher. So that's one of the reasons why, for our teachers as well as our students, a specialized curriculum. And we are collaborating now with general ed, the curriculum writing. But with this curriculum, we'll also do like scope and sequence and pacing guides. So that, there's, if a student moved from one elementary to another, there's still kind of on that same pacing for that grade level. And then the equity piece, our students with disabilities, they deserve, that specialized curriculum, something that's going to meet their needs to truly help close the gap. And data-driven decision making is based on data that helping our teachers again to be able to implement goals and objectives with a curriculum that's aligned to state standards. But also to modify to where teachers can scaffold for the appropriate.
Add on to what Michelle said, so for each of ours are emotionally disturbed or emotionally into the emotional support, many of them are capable of doing the tier 1 curriculum. So that's why we're pulling in SPED teachers now to help support that. Our autistic children, some of them need something special. We already have STAR and links in place for them, but we're going to write curriculum for that one as well. And special ed teachers would do that. And then this would fill that component for our kids who needed much more structured support. Like in our lead program, some of our emotional support kids.
okay, so this is going to be applied or used with all the special ed kids.
Our self-contained and the functional, the LEAP, which is that program. predominantly are students with significant cognitive disabilities. And then we have the medically fragile, which cognitive and physical and medical disabilities. And it will also be used for some of our students with other health impairment, ADHD, and the emotional challenges in the SOAR classroom who are not on grade level, but they are 2 or more grade levels below. Well, as having a behavior challenge, and it has an SEL component.
It's, I think I'm okay, thanks. Okay. So very small group. Relatively small group.
Yeah, is our students with autism are probably about 400. So this, I'd say the numbers are between that 300 and 400 range.
How long is this contract for?
This one is through June of 2027.
Just for you.
Yes. We are looking at expanding it. Yeah, this is valid through July 2020. It is a year. Yeah, 5/31/27.
Start date is 26 and date 27.
Tell me where you see that much.
Page 2.
Second page.
Start date. 26, and the- Let's move this, and this is gonna be. And so the total within that here is 64,
Yes,
the 57 plus the 7.
yes, sir.
And is this like all computer work?
Yes, it is not, but it is printable, so like the teacher can print the lessons.
And this year for our students that are gonna be using tier 1 source children, we have ordered consumables for all of them this year. So that's new.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question before we back to supervisor accountability. The one that said by weekly school, walkthrough, it's gonna be any time, any date.
Yes, they're gonna be in district schools, and they'll have a regular visit schedule. They're lining up with schools, so schools will know when they're coming in.
Oh, okay,
So it's not spot.
They're gonna be surprised. Same thing what we do on the academic side, they're still taking what the academics this year. Narrowing it, what we're doing in with the supervisors. So they have schools that they go into each day. It's between 7 of us, we did about 796 school visits this year. Working, going into classrooms, working with teachers, working with principals. They'll follow something very similar. From an accountability, there'll also be an accountability system embedded in it as well.
Thank you. In the one, the patient, the guiding principle. So, okay. So one, yeah, I see transparency, but I just want to know, my question for you is what part, I will be there for the parents you know, like, when you say transparency. Because I know sometimes parents, they're really lost. They don't know exactly,
Right.
what's going on, so I think for, if there is any parents come, then, you know, sit down with them, you know,
Well-
exactly guide them.
Ideally, the teachers, right?
Yeah.
The teachers will work with the parents in sharing the students' work during parent-teacher conferences, sending out, many teachers will do a classroom update or classroom newsletter. This week, we learned that we're doing this in math, we're doing this in reading. Every teacher has their own style of that. Also, open houses, correct?
And you also have the ombudsman that is still within our department that helps the parents as well.
That's very helpful. Mr. Mueller. Parents trust her.
You work with at the ombudsman?
Oh, yeah. It's my,
Okay.
yes,
Is my favorite, yeah.
many years.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I work with somebody, so yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
And I would say too that our lead.
Yeah.
Has been very helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Eshamara Jimenez?
No questions from me. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we, we are going to recommend, for the full board, the Everway proposal. Recommend to the full board for passage, the proposal as presented to us. Do we if we to I want to say this. We move to approve and recommend that we present it to the full board for approval at its next regular meeting, the proposal for Everway as presented to us. All in favor? Aye. Passed. And then, if there are no further questions on this SPED, thank you for your time and presentation. And I'll take a motion for adjournment. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here.
Committee, I do want to apologize for the lateness in getting these reports filed, and I know I have to have it
The
in.
meeting is adjourned.